Vibhan, you can start.
Good evening to one and all. Vaibhav Amburi, Secretary of Pune Vikasa, welcome you to this a wonderful session on future opportunities for CAs. So today we have a guest, CA Ranjit Kulkarni sir, with us to guide you all about the future opportunities for CAs in this dynamic world. So warm welcome to you, sir. Uh,
Thank
Now
you. Thank
I
you, Vaibhav.
request Ranjit Kulkarni sir to take the charge of the session.
Hello. Good evening, all. Just give me a minute. Good evening, everyone. Uh, I am CA Ranjit Kulkarni. Just to introduce myself, I have been a chartered accountant for the last 15 years now, and I'm also an MBA in finance. And right now, I am in practice, and I'm working with GDF and Company Chartered Accountants. I'm a partner with GDF and Company Chartered Accountants in the past 12 years. Um, I welcome you all to the session. I believe, and I've been told that the listeners or my audience may be students of ICAI. So that means people who are doing their intermediate foundation examinations, intermediate examinations, or are doing their articleship or on the verge of completion of articleship, have appeared for exams, are awaiting the results. And I'm supposed to address all of you. So probably, my speech or my session, I will try to address all the concerns about those who have just enrolled into the CA course as to how their life is going to be, those who are studying for intermediate. Uh, as I will also talk about the future opportunities of CA, and this presentation, I have been asked to talk about that. But before that, let's take a step back, and I would like you to go back to your 10th standard and, for a minute, think about why you chose commerce as a field, right? I hope it was not because you did not get admission into science stream, right? That was not the reason. I'm sure for most of you, commerce, finance, money fascinated you, or you were attracted by the concept of managing money or mm, having some kind of business in the future or some other matter, right? Some other factor. And that is why you chose the commerce field. Now, once you chose your commerce field, and a lot of you might have chosen the commerce field just because your parents told you, or somebody is in your family is a chartered accountant and they wanted you to do a chartered accountant course in future. And let me be very honest, I was one amongst those people. I have been one of amongst you where because my father was a chartered accountant and I had to follow it with footsteps and had to do this. And of course, no regrets. I'm not saying that. Very happy to be here and very happy to have succeeded and became a chartered accountant and doing what I do presently. Um, so going back, when you passed your 11th or 12th, you might have decided to do this course and say, why do we want to do a CA, right? For the money. But then MBA also pays you money. If you get into an IIM or one of the premier MBA colleges, you can earn a lot of money. So money, of course, is a driving force for a lot of you, and a lot of you might be millennials, Gen Zs, right? Um, and money might be a driving force for some of you. Uh, it might have also been the prestige of becoming a chartered accountant, right? Chartered accountant. What does chartered accountant mean to you? Why is there a prestige associated with this course? right? Why is there a sense of pride? Why do people say so? Whenever today I go out and people ask me, Ranjit, what do you do? And I say I'm a chartered accountant. And the first reaction what people have is, oh wow, money man. So maybe, may not be, but the first reaction is, oh wow, people are impressed because I have come here and you will be here after going through a tenacious, rigorous study and practical training process over the next 2 to 3 to 4 years, depending on what course you have, right? Uh, so this course really kind of puts your patience, your understanding, uh, your zeal to test and enables you to achieve something by sacrificing your blood, sweat, and tears, literally sometimes, right? Um, if now today is the generation of AI, and I went on Google and I typed, what does a chartered accountant mean? Who is a chartered accountant? What does he mean? And it gave me a definition which says a chartered accountant is a professional accountant who has completed extensive training and education in financial management, auditing, taxation, and business strategy. Business strategy. That is something very interesting that AI has thrown up. And I am very impressed by uh, that term because normally chartered accountant is always associated with taxation, audit. Those are the four areas that is associated. But business strategy is something that AI has thrown up. I'm very intrigued, and you should be very intrigued by this definition. And I will come to, and I would want to associate this with, uh, when I will discuss what can a chartered accountant do in the future. What does it look like? Correct. So financial management, auditing, taxation, business strategy. Those are the 4, 5 keywords that AI has thrown up for me. Today, I don't have a presentation because I don't want to, do a typical PowerPoint, PPT, 1, 2, 3 slides. I would have loved to have an interactive session live. However, in person, however, this is the format right now, and I'm going to try to retain your attention by speaking about a few things. Okay. So let me again go back. So now that let me go back to my 12th standard or your 12th standard, where you've decided to pursue a chartered accountancy course and you're appearing for your foundation exam and you're studying for it and you pass it and you clear it. Some of you may take an attempt or two, but eventually you do it, right? Once you do that, now I think you have to complete your intermediate exams in order to qualify for articleship. And then after 2 years, I think it's now 2 years for most of you. Some of you might be doing a 3-year articleship as we speak. I will leave those aside, but now the new syllabus, the new curriculum is 2 years of articleship. And then I think after ending your 2-year articleship, then there's a 6-month gap after which you can give your CA final exams and voila, you are a chartered accountant. There is no voila. It's a lot of blood, sweat, tears, trust me. However, however, uh, once you once you're appearing for your intermediate examinations, you will have certain topics. You will start getting acquainted with the topics, and you will start your articleship. Friends, for whoever in my audience is about to start their articleship, what is in it for you? Correct? What does it mean from going from a student life to an article, to a life of an article student? It means, transcending your role from a fun-loving, college-going individual to being a professional. Correct? Because once you start your articleship, you will be interacting in the corporate world with a lot of finance managers, business owners, entrepreneurs, startup people, so on and so forth, regulators. And this is the first step of transformation that happens at that very young age, which really sets you apart from the rest of the people. Correct? Because starting to work at the age of 19, 20, 21, vis-a-vis an MBA who kind of MBAs typically you complete your BCom and then appear for an MBA. So that's a post-graduation course. Uh, but you get your hands dirty right early on, right from a very young age. And that is what really sets you apart. And really, sometimes you are not prepared for what is in it for, when you start your articleship. And friends, I would like to tell you that, uh, groom yourselves for whoever has not started your articleship. Be with me, people who have, are doing your articleship and want to know what is the scope. Also be with me. I'm just have patience. I will come to that as well. But I feel grooming yourself to be a professional is a very important step in, the process of becoming a chartered accountant and entering into the professional world. And this is where you should start self-learning or self-grooming and really understand that you are leaving your other self behind and you are literally transforming yourself uh, into an office going individual, uh, which takes a different kind of pause, understanding, maturity, right, and tenacity. So there your journey to be a chartered accountant really starts. And the sooner you get that into your system, जितना जल्दी ये आपके जहन में उतारोगे, उतना अच्छा, you know, the better you will be in these 2 years of your tenure of internships. It also means having colleagues, having seniors, talking to partners, talking to third parties, clients, and engaging with them. So apart from the technical aspects of it, I would really, and whoever is currently doing their article sheet, please, you know, uh, understand where I'm coming from. Technical things, of course, you are going to be trained by the very best in the profession who will make you understand sections, acts, laws, uh, strategies, uh, modes, methods of auditing. You would learn audit reports, you learn about frauds, etc., so and so. So technical aspects are going to be taught to you by the institute itself through its curriculum, as well as your seniors and professionals in your articleship, in your CA form. However, there are certain qualities you need to imbibe by observing and grasping from people around you, which is going to really also define what you're going to do in the future and what your professional career is going to look like. Once you clear your CA course, there are going to be n number of chartered accountants around. You go to you go to any big four, or you go to any industry, go to a Bharat Forge, you go to a Persistent Systems, you go to an Infosys, there will be 35, 40, 50, 100 chartered accountants. What is going to set you apart? It is this. It is what you observe and how you conduct yourself and what you grasp during these 2 years of articleship and how you transform yourself into a professional is going to set you apart from the rest of the people. Right. So of course, technical skills are essential and very, very rudimentary and fundamental to your knowledge base and to your entire career. But all these aspects are something that, you know, you have to work on yourself. Of course, Institute has come up with wonderful courses as like the general managed communication, management and communication skills. And you will get excellent exposure there as to how to conduct yourself and communicate and interact with people. However, self-learning, my friends, is also very important. The way you speak to people, the way you present yourselves is also going to define as to how long and how far you will go in your career, right? So, right. So coming back to your, suppose you've cleared your intermediate examinations and you have entered your articleship now. You're doing your articleship. Some of you might be already doing your articleship. Think about how you can be different from others, because that is what is going to carry you in the future for a long time. Friends, what is the what is our bodh vakya of the institute? Yeah, it is ya esh supteshu jagriti. Ya esh supteshu jagriti, which means that the one who is awake while everyone else is sleeping, right? तो एक व्यक्ति जो उन लोगों में जाग रहा है जो सोए हुए हैं, the one who's awake while the other is sleeping. Literally or figuratively speaking, it means that somebody who is alert all the time, somebody who is different from different from the others. And I would like to connect this sentence to what I said earlier about differentiating yourself from others. And that is really going to be your motto or your bodh vakya from now on. Correct? Ya eshu supteshu jagrati. Now, uh, you are going to learn a lot of topics as you are doing your articleship. Some of you might be learning GST. Some of you might be not learning. Some of you might be doing only GST. Some of you might be doing only stat audit listed companies. Some of you might be doing stat audit MSME companies. Some of you might be doing internal audit. Some of you might be doing direct taxation in your articleship. And I believe you can identify with most of these aspects. Some of you might be associated with accounting, where your firms are outsourcing and delivering services. Friends, no field of work is inferior to others. Perhaps somebody who is working in a mid-sized firm may have hands-on experience of preparing a balance sheet, vouching, talking to clients, interacting with partners, vis-a-vis somebody who's doing their articleship in a big four, where I believe you don't really do vouching, you only do a higher level kind of work, where it is only interpretation, analysis, so on and so forth. Friends, whatever you do and whatever you're doing right now, everything will count, right? Everything will count. It also depends on how fast you adapt to whatever is thrown at you once you enter into a professional world, right? So you have to be a little more alert and awake if you think that you are lagging behind in some things and so on and so forth. But that we'll keep it aside. But whatever you're doing, my friends, everything counts. Don't think that you are doing something lesser than what your friend is doing because he is working in a big four and you are not. Or for somebody who is working with a smaller kind of firm and doing your accounts, outsourcing, don't feel that you're missing out on something that your other colleague is doing. Everything that you're doing is count. Just make sure that whatever you're doing, you are learning the A to Z's of it. So if you are being given vouching in your articleship and ledger scrutiny, also look at what your senior is doing and how he's analyzing balance sheets and how he's writing the report. How are the emails being written, right? All these things will take you a long way, right? Um, so let us now, I think you've spent some 15, 20 minutes on uh, all these basic aspects. Um, we can now come to, okay, now you're doing your articleship, you've given your final attempt. For those who are lucky and have studied hard and worked enough, and you clear in your first attempt, while your articleship is out, amazing. Then your campus placements start. You're a CA, your campus placements start. Uh, a lot of industry, banks, NBFCs, and Big Four, I believe, come to campus, or you are called for interviews. Friends, during these 2 years that your internship is on, think about where you imagine yourself to be. Do you imagine yourself? Are you happy, or are you curious about what else is there in your statutory audit? All of us are doing our articleship. Some of you might be doing your industrial training in some of the institutions. If you ask for my personal opinion, not advisable. 2 years of articleship, learn how much you can, with a CA firm that you are in, try to learn as much as you can, because in larger industrial houses, industries, it may sometimes happen that you're given very routine work. So it is a risk that you're taking with industrial training, but I will leave that to you. I will not uh, make any controversial statements here. But friends, I do believe that absolutely these 2 years are essential for you to learn and adapt and thrive in the work that you're doing. To understand the balance sheet of one company, it will take you at least 1 to 2 years. Correct? So, for somebody like me who audits the same balance sheets over and over again, there is always something new to find. There is always some new law. There is always some new incident that is happening. The way it should be treated in accounts. What does the law say? How to interpret it? How to present the balance sheets? How to talk to the shareholders? What is the larger objective of the company? So on and so forth. So if this is something that excites you as you're doing your articleship, then statutory audit might be the domain for you. Like working with a big four or working with a medium-sized firm or any kind of an audit firm might be the domain for you. I mean, we are living in a world where today India is progressing, and the legal environment has become very dynamic. There are changes every year in most of the laws that we are studying, and uh, it is quite challenging for us to adapt and implement each of these changes. So, if you like to handle such changes, if you like to investigate, if you're somebody who likes to poke and probe and investigate, audit is for you, right? Statutory audit is something that so it's all about accounting standards, it's about Companies Act, it's about a little bit about taxation, and the basic liking to investigate and probe into things must be there with you if you want to choose statutory audit as your career. Friends, it is very essential for you to understand what you are inclined towards. Don't go for how much uh, is this line, how much money is in there, how much money is there in uh, an audit vis-a-vis investment banking, vis-a-vis risk management, vis-a-vis banking job. Don't go by that. If you excel in whatever you're doing once you're a CA, you can go very far. Correct? So please listen to yourself and listen to, you know, and know what you're good at. Your career is a combination of two things. It is capability and skill both. Yeah, capability and skill. You have the skill, right? You have the skill, but you don't have the capability. And one without the other is absolutely useless. So understand where you want to go, what are your likings, and these 2 to 3 years are enough for you to know where you want to head to. Don't let your decision not be influenced by money only. money is a factor, but money only. Now, if you are somebody who does not really like legal things, but you are somebody who pays attention to details and is interested in the nitty-gritty of businesses, processes, accounting also, but mostly processes. Internal audit is something that you may want to explore. Correct? Uh, So internal audit is basically review of processes. Transaction-based internal auditing is gone. Process-based internal auditing, risk management. So amongst the 15 odd processes in the company, where is the process going wrong? What is happening? How can you set it right? What are the suggestions? What are the risks in that? If you like these kind of, or if you're inclined toward uh, these kind of activities or these kind of uh, um, these kind of things, then internal audit is something that you should go for. Okay. For me, I will tell you very honestly, I did not like to go too much into details. I did not I was somebody who did not want to go too much in detail into the processes. So statutory audit was something that was inclined to. I'd like to look at the laws, the accounting standards, Indies was something that fascinated me, and that is why I chose statutory audit. That is one of the aspects that you can do. Of course, as a practicing chartered accountant, you may have to do a lot of things. You may have to do. So, for example, I do valuations, I do feasibility studies, I do statutory audits, I do other consulting assignments. So that is something different. But if you want to be in practice, you also have to. So that reminds me that if you are a practicing chartered accountant, you may have to be jack of all trades and not just master of one, unless you want to focus and you really are uh, inclined towards one set of activities. Taxation. I think taxation is something that, we all handle: individual taxation, corporate taxation, GST. If you are exposed during your course, or if you like the subject, GST is very dynamic again in our um, profession. There are circulars every day. You read the circulars, you interpret them, you apply to your different clients, and you kind of advise them. If that is something that interests you, then GST advisory, GST audit is something that has been removed by the government. However, assistance in GST for preparing 9C and Form 9, that is the GST for GST, not audit report, GST returns, is something that a chartered accountant is actively involved in. So now when I talk about GST, you may want to be, uh, you may be a practitioner in GST, or you might also be handling GST in an industry, correct? So when I'm talking about statutory audit, internal audit is something again that can be done by a practicing chartered accountant, or you can join an internal audit team in an industry. So both the options are open for you. Friends, I think the first thing, and I kind of rushed immediately into statutory audit, internal audit, etc. The first thing you may want to analyze about yourself is whether you have entrepreneurial skills. Do you like to be your own boss? Do you have what it takes to market and get business? Right? And do you want to, if so, then practice is something for you. Okay. So broad areas, practice and industry. In practice, we talked about statutory audit, internal audit, we're talking about GST, we'll talk about direct taxation. So if you're somebody who likes challenges and who wants to be an entrepreneur and grow your business and so on and so forth, I think, CA practice might be for you. However, if you feel that this is something that you don't want to do, and you don't want to, of course, practice comes with a lot of responsibility. You have to sign audit reports, you have to sign balance sheets. It means a lot of responsibility. The regulators are watching you all the time. Friends, unfortunately, we are living in an environment where CAs are also the first thing that goes wrong in the company. The CAs are being held accountable. Uh, People are asking questions, saying what were the CAs doing. But please understand that in wherever you are, even in the industry, you are going to be accountable for the work that you are doing, right? By your seniors and by the management, and your appraisals and your overall career is going to depend on the quality of work that you do. So if you want to set your own quality standards and do your own things, practice might just for you. Otherwise, you can always go into the industry. Statutory audit, my friends, you might have studied. Statutory audit is always an external agency which carries it on. So practicing chartered accountants normally deal with statutory audits most of the time. Direct taxation representing, if some of you have been involved in going to the tax departments and speaking to the officers, and this is what excites you, and you think that you want to do that, or direct taxation subject in itself is vast, intriguing, challenging, and if you think that excites you and drives you, then direct taxation is something that you can do. Correct. Direct taxation also, there are two parts. There is retail, which is individual taxation, and corporate taxation. Correct. Till tribunal level, if I'm not wrong, CS can represent. Above that, you have to be a lawyer. So what some of you, if you want to kind of represent, go into that skill, you may want to do your LLB and want to go there and augment your practice in that stream. Correct. Friends, the world is shrinking. More and more nations, countries, economies are offering work to each other. By this mode, accounting, if you see a Deloitte, for example, and I don't know if I'm allowed to take the exact names of this thing, but anyway, a lot of consulting firms are taking accounts outsourcing as an activity in their firms. And servicing of these clients, of course, the first world countries, we are a bit economical resource for them vis-a-vis their talent. Of course, also there might not be so much talent in these first world countries, but we are a good resource for them for writing their accounts and handling their compliances, as long as we know them, are aware of them. So audit outsourcing, accounts outsourcing is something that is increasing today in the market as I speak. If you have that kind of inclination, that is something that is also being done by increasingly by people. Of course, friends, you have to remember that whenever you are doing your practice or consulting, you're doing a business, you must be good at networking, right? And networking, where does networking happen? So networking happens on, everywhere in your day-to-day dealings. Networking happens. If you're talking to somebody, it might be a networking opportunity. Your friends are your future networks, right? Your relatives, your colleagues are your future networks. The firm where you're practicing might be your future network. So if you are, a lot of people who have started their practices, a lot of firms, new firms which are thriving, have gotten work from their earlier firms, and they have gotten clients and work from their earlier firms where they have done their articleship. So please be, while you will be doing or you're doing your internship, make the best of it. Try to network as much as possible. Uh, be on good terms with your principals, your seniors, because they might be the one who might help you in, contributing some amount to your practice. So we spoke about practice. Now, you have to remember that as a fresher CA, immediately starting your practice may not be viable, depending on what network you have, as I said. So then you might want to join the industry or a mid-sized firm or a C or some kind of a CA firm for a few years, learn the tricks of the trade, as I call it, and then start your own practice. This is for practicing chartered accountants. For the others who want to do audit but do not want to practice, you can always join a CA firm. May it be a big four or maybe mid-sized firms or smaller firm, boutique firms. So many boutique firms are coming up with their niche areas of practice. You have to research and get an idea as to what they are doing in what area they're practicing in. So once you join, so for example, if you're joining a mid-sized firm and where you've already worked, it might be a very good avenue for you to get a higher amount of responsibility. You might be a team leader there. You might already know the practices there. So there will be more trust on you, and you will be given greater work, and you can be made as a team leader, where will be assigned more responsibilities, more complex audits, or given smaller audits independently with one article student or assistant, where you can handle the audit independently, end to end. So joining a firm and doing these kind of audits also is something that you can do after clearing your CA. Correct? So, I spoke to, so for example, in my firm, if a person who has already completed an articleship is joining and he has worked with mid-sized clients, then we might put him onto listed company clients if he's interested. Or where he's worked as a team member in those audits, he might be made as a team leader and I will give him independently the audits. In Big Fours, I spoke to some of my colleagues in the Big Four, and they also might, make your team leader for smaller companies, give you critical areas, interpretation. They give you interaction with finance controllers of your client companies. They might make your team in charge. You will also be interacting with a partner at the Big Four level, which is kind of a big deal. So friends, this is the audit domain that I predominantly spoke about, right? Statutory audit, internal audit, direct taxation, indirect taxation, consulting in terms of accounting, outsourcing, and so on and so forth. Now let's come to the industry. Now, in your before I come to the industry, there is also consulting domain which is picking up lately. So people who don't want to, who are interested in a consultative approach and want to point out, or you have a point where you have a suggestion to make and not just fault finding, then consulting might be the area for you. If you think you're good at analytical skills where you can analyze and present and suggest, uh, consulting might be a good opportunity. In consulting, you have due diligence audits, due diligence, which is something more than just an audit and lesser than an investigation. It's kind of finding out what is not there on the face of it. Valuations. You might have heard that Insolvency Bankruptcy Board of India. Now, if you want to do valuation of shares, securities, you have to pass the valuation examination conducted by the Insolvency Bankruptcy Board of India. Valuation is something that is very exciting. We are living in times of Shark Tank India, where every day, your value is changing. Not every day, but maybe every 2 years. Lot of startups, lot of companies, wherever there is a merger, there is an acquisition, there is a fresh issue of shares, there is a buyback of shares, there is a share transfer, valuation is required, right? And valuation is something that is very, very exciting and engaging. And this might be something that you are interested. If you like to know what is the overall market size of a particular sector, how a sector is doing, who are the players, how are they doing, what are the profits, what are the challenges, what are the SWOTs, what are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats of that industry, of that concern, and what is the right price for that company to have for its share. If that is something that you're curious about, or something you might be dealing with stock markets also, how does the value get defined? So valuation is something that if you're interested in, then you might want to do again, get into consulting, do valuations. Of course, as a fresher CA, you might not get core valuation. You might be assigned to a research kind of a job where you find out similar companies and their profit margins and their activities, how similar or how far apart they are from each other, and so on and so forth. There you can be involved, right? So feasibility studies. Say a company from abroad wants to come into India and start its operations. They wanted to conduct a pre-feasibility study, whether it is feasible for them to do business in India or not. So then you find out about the sector and do a sector study, and you do a technical analysis, and you do a financial due diligence, so on and so forth. So that is something, if that you think is exciting, then the consulting domain might be for you. Of course, I must say this, friends, is that, finally, this is macro analysis and micro analysis. Macro analysis is looking at the economy as a whole, and micro analysis is looking at a company in itself. So in your articleship, the more balance sheets you go through and the more better audits that you do, if you know what can go wrong in a company, you will always be a very good consultant because you know what is the right thing to do. But because the fallacies where the companies and the areas where the companies can stumble, uh, you can be a better consultant for them. So please, I'm always saying this, that focus on your articleship and let and study as much balance sheets as you can, and let prepare balance sheets if you can, if you're getting the opportunity. Uh, look at the after you have done your audit, please look at the annual reports and please look at the disclosures. Please, link your audit reports to the notes of accounts and your financial figures. There is nothing like this time because you're allowed to fail during these 2 years, and you are allowed second chances, you're allowed third chances. I will also tell you why this is important when we come to the next segment, banking and NBFC. I'm not talking about investment banking, but I'm talking about banking and NBFC. Banking and NBFC, typically chartered accounts are involved either in the risk management or your credit risks or your credit functions. Credit functions is basically assessing the client's or the borrower's credibility and credit strength to decide whether he should be allowed to be given a loan or not. Correct? So if you're interested in something like that, and if you have studied balance sheets, and if there are 5, 7, 8, 10 balance sheets which have gone under your hand, if you understand balance sheets and analyze balance sheets, then you can be a good credit analyst in a bank or an NBFC. Yeah. So as a fresher, you might be given those roles. If you have done NBFC bank audits, you might be given some higher kind of roles. Right? Bank NBFC's roles also imply a lot of reading of RBI circulars and acquainting yourself with that, and and then functioning accordingly. So banking NBFC again is something that fresher chartered accountant find a space in, and they're recruited by the bank. If you've done your articleship from a decent company, you will be recruited by NBFCs and banks. Friends, if you have good communication skills, you might also be recruited as a relationship manager with these banks. Although relationship managers mostly I've seen are given to MBAs because of their talking skills, because of their communication skills, where we lack a little bit, unfortunately. But if you want to, if this is something that you want to do and interact with a lot of people, uh, and retail banking. Like I remember working with HSBC during my internship. My senior was a CA, And she may not know a couple of sections of that. Training is given to you by the banks, long-term capital and short-term capital gain. But she was an excellent communicator and she had 150 retail clients under her. She was handling the accounts of 150 clients and she was doing the wealth management. Of course, wealth management is also a big area of investment for chartered accountants. They understand these aspects in more clearly with a better expertise. Taxation advice can be coupled with wealth management and you can be a good wealth manager. So this is something that is also an area where a CA can work. So if you have those kind of skills and if you want to develop those, work on that, and you can be in more of a front office kind of a role in a bank or an NBFC, right? So what else is left? Friends, if you are somebody who is, again, so let me come back. So we spoke about statutory audits, we spoke about internal audits, direct taxation, indirect taxation. Then we spoke about practice, we spoke about industry. If you want to go into a manufacturing industry, for example, internal audit is one of the domains that you can do. Treasury, finance is something that I haven't spoken about. So that is another area where you can try your, you may be interested in. So treasury predominantly means handling investments, cash flows, cash flow management. So there is an independent treasury function sometimes in companies. Friends, whenever you are going for sitting for the interviews, please ask your interviewer what you're supposed to do on a day-to-day basis. Because sometimes the titles of the jobs are very rosy and they're very glamorous. However, what you're doing sometimes, what you have to do on a day-to-day basis might be very banal and repetitive. So please, you know, feel free to ask the interviewers as to what you're supposed to do on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, assistant manager risk management. ये मतलब क्या है? मतलब what are you supposed to do on a day-to-day basis? Please be curious, inquisitive, and ask very politely as to what your role entails. Because when you're entering into a manufacturing or some kind of a service industry, it is huge, right? Bharat Forge itself has 40 to 50 people in their finance team, if I'm not wrong. Bajaj Auto similarly. So whether you're going to work in a finance team, whether you're going to work in an accounts team, whether you're going to work in compliances, sometimes you will be given finance where you want to see that, I'm going to want to work in an M&A, but you may have to start, heading GST teams and direct taxation teams. That can happen if the overall this thing is finance. So it's an ocean, my friends, and you have to really put your finger on what is it that you will be entailed with, what kind of roles and responsibilities you will be acquainted with when you're joining an industry. Understand and then, enter it. Correct? Uh, so again, internal statutory risk management, treasury functions, finance, compliances, accounts. Accounts, you might be in charge of consolidation, right? You have to look after consolidation of companies, accounts, right? Accounts, talk to the auditors, engage with the auditors. So that is again accounts function, finances, treasury. So we spoke about those, and we spoke about bank, NBFC. Now we come to a very desirable role or desirable stream, which is investment bank. Everybody wants to be an investment bank. Friends, what do you understand by investment bank? And I would have loved to hear from you what everybody's interpretation of investment banking is. To be an investment banker, again, you have to be very, very alert and have had the experience of looking and handling of financials of many companies under you so that you know what you're looking at and you understand that your numbers can speak to you. Investment banking is something that is not really offered to fresher chartered accountants right in the beginning, right? Mostly I don't know, for some reason they go to IIMs, IIM MBAs, and these kind of people. Uh, I will say that we are well equipped for this role. However, if you're not getting investment banking, then what is investment banking, my friend? Investment banking is basically working with venture funds or private equity firms or some such kind of investors where you uh, they want to invest in, and you kind of identify the right company and whether it is worth investing in or not. That is the simple meaning of investment banking. It is like working in a bank and saying whether I want to give this company a loan or not. Similarly, working for an entity and helping it make a decision whether they would want to invest in a company or not. Investment banking. That is what I understand by investment banking, and that is what is meant mostly, right? So, for to identify the right company in the right sector, you have to again have that 360-degree approach and not confine yourself to only balance sheets and laws and uh, specific things. Have a broader approach, have a macro approach, and make sure that you're curious about things. So here, if you are somebody who is saying that I don't want to know about anything, my accounting standards, my standards of auditing, my law is good enough, I don't want to know anything. Please stay in statutory and audit, internal audit, so on and so forth. But if you're somebody who's curious about things and has a wider approach, yeah, investment banking might be a thing. You know, so more of a 360-degree approach and how market is functioning, who's getting funding. If these kind of things you're interested in, the investment banking might be a thing. Again, don't remain under the illusion that you will get an IB profile immediately uh, after you pass out. But I'm just telling you what to, look at yourself, how to look at yourself first, and what are your likings, where you're. Of course, sometimes you might be interested in certain things. However, your academics may fall short of having that kind of a profile. But it's okay. What is the next best thing? What is your plan B? Work on that, join there, and eventually uh, transgress into uh, transcend into something else that you're interested in. That is what I can say. Correct. So friends, these are the broad areas where you can, gain proficiency and work yourself and go into career. However, I would also like to speak to you and say that don't confine yourself to only these aspects. I have had friends and my colleagues who are the CEOs of companies, CEOs. Uh, One chartered accountant is the CEO of a company that manufactures industrial tools and equipment. He is not an engineer, he's a chartered accountant, but he's managed to be the CEO. I have one chartered accountant who heads an MNC, which is into HR consultancy and best practices in HR globally. Has she done her HR? Has she done her MBA in HR? No, she's not. Phenomenal careers, my friends. Don't limit yourself to only these aspects. Think wide, think big, think different. These are not the limiting factors that your CA course is enabling you to. This is not the limiting factors that the CA course is limiting you to. Rather, these are the enabling factors where you can choose to be much more than you already are. And this just forms the base of uh, what you can be in the future. Apart from technical aspects, analytical and critical thinking is something that is taught by our course, which is phenomenal, my friends. And being an MBA and CA together, I will say this, that the more you expand your horizons and learn to uh, adapt and imbibe the world around you, the better you will be at excelling in your career. And this might sound a lot of English, but please, I hope you understand what I'm trying to say, that the sky is the limit for a chartered accountant. And don't, of course, technical knowledge and taxations and everything is a vast sea in itself. But there is a big ocean of opportunities for you. Uh, Listen to yourself, uh, see what you're getting inclined in, and walk towards it, and the world is your oyster. I think I've covered most of the things, and I wish you all the very best. Uh, if you have any more queries, I'm not sure how the institute is conducting this. Can we have the questions in chats or something? Two, three questions. Uh, who's there from the institute side?
Hi, Pranav here.
Yes, hi, Pranav.
Yes, so probably we'll see if there are any specific questions in the chat box. Then I'll just read out for you those questions, and
Okay,
if not, then probably then we can go ahead with the session. So probably we can conclude the session.
okay, okay.
Yes, I'll just see whether there are any specific
Sure,
questions which are
Pranav.
coming in. Yes.
Sure. If any feedback that you would want to know about a certain this thing, I may not be able to answer it right away, but the institute can take a note and maybe have another those sessions on it in the future. Also,
There are no questions as of now
okay,
for the time being.
okay,
So probably what we can do, if there are any specific queries or the question that is coming up,
yeah,
that will definitely reach out to you
sure,
for resolving those.
okay, okay.
So thank you so much, Sri Ranjit, for giving such a insightful session. So I was listening to it in bits and pieces, but definitely it was a very nice to hear the various avenues that the CS will have probably in their career. So thank you so much for such a wonderful session, and looking forward
Thank
for more
you,
sessions from you.
thank you, Pranav.
Yes. Thank
Thank
you.
you. The
Thank you so
pleasure's
much.
been mine.
Yes.
Thank you for
Yes.
having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.